Stand down. Thank you. This is earlier. This was earlier. Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting of June 8th. As always, I would like to remind everyone this meeting is being recorded and is also being broadcast live for use at a later date. I would ask you to please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Would you also please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have several guests here tonight, so I'm going to jump around a little bit on the agenda this evening for the sake of getting some people in and out that have to get back at it tomorrow in the district. So bear with me, please. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 29th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. We have no student advisory this evening. We're going to move right on. We're going to move to old business. We have these three gentlemen that have been working very diligently on a regional agreement amendment committee, and they're here this evening to tell us what the very minor changes were. So, if you'd like to have the floor, Steve.
For the record, I'm Steve Hammond. I'm the Assistant Executive Director for the Regional School Association. I head up our consulting group. And with us is Mac Reed and Steve Donovan, who are your primary people that worked on the project. Just for a little background, when you were going to town meeting, there was some issues concerning the legal counsels from each town, the length of time they had to review, and that's why it wound up being passed over. I then had conversations with your superintendent, and then I contacted your council and the council from each of the two towns. And on May 24th, we were on a conference call reviewing what were the issues that they had. And just to mention those to you, under Section 5, capital costs, the one thing that they wanted to add to that is that capital costs shall include all expenses described in DESE chart of accounts and the 700 function code, and wanted to add as may be modified by DESE from time to time. And I would add, if we go on with any of these changes, there were no substantial changes, there were clarifications. Chris Lynch has seen these, and she has approved that you'd have no problems with the agreement with these changes made to be approved by the department. The next thing was under the elementary schools, and the concern was on the debt. And one of the things under, let me go back for a second. Under C, apportionment of capital costs, 3, elementary schools, it originally read, a project will be presented to the selectmen of the town for which capital improvements are requested. And they requested to go back to what was in your original agreement. It said, an article will be presented to the selectman's office of the town for which capital improvements are requested, and approval of the voters will be required in order for the work to proceed. That means that, in other words, you send it to them, the voters in each town have to approve, vote, raise and appropriate the money for that particular project. I understand what my recommendation, what you have is a capital plan. You would present that each year to the towns to go into the annual town meeting and appropriate the funds if you would need to. The next section was D, debt, and this was just to make clear on the debt, who has what debt. And number 2, they added the following. Each member town shall be responsible for paying the debt incurred for its respective elementary and middle schools pursuant to Section 5C3 above. Otherwise, each member town share of debt incurred for capital costs associated with the high school. And it goes on to say from there that it would be, the way that would happen is you go per pupil, how you divide that up for that. So basically what it was trying to clarify, and that's all it was that those are the only sections they did. I was on the phone for an hour with them, and that they're clarifying that again, is the debt that if the elementary and middle school is a capital project, that the towns are responsible for that. If it's here at the high school, then the region is responsible, and they would be assessed. And then again, on the capital plans for the elementary, that you would present to them, projects need to be done, then they have to vote, which would have to raise the money in order to do that project. So it's just a clarification that they all felt comfortable. This was sent, I did this and sent it back to them. I received an email from each of the lawyers, your council in the two towns, saying yes, they approved, they have no problems with recommending this in a fall town meeting. And I sent copies to your superintendent and your business manager of them saying they'd accept this. Also, this went to Chris Lynch, as I said earlier, and she said, yes, no problems. Her only comment was out of that is that maybe if something happens at a building, say something, you got a hurricane coming through and you had a roof blow off, well, then that, yeah, obviously you have to take this emergency, take care of those things appropriately, but that's nothing that your regional agreement could perceive what's going to happen in the future. But again, they'd be responsible to take care of that. You'd notify them, and then the selectmen would have to have a mechanism by which those would be repaired. So that's all that they wanted to change, and everybody, they've all approved it. And so our recommendation to you would be is that you vote to approve this and then send it back out to your selectmen for that process to go through at the fall town meetings.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the document as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hemming before, or for Mac Reed? Fred?
And just because I enjoy saying, I want to thank the men from Mars. It was a pleasure working with you, gentlemen.
I want to say Mac and Steve did a great job. It's not easy going through all these things and making sure everything there, and especially we dealt with the Department of Education. Chris Lynch was great to work with and gave good recommendations. So we got through that process. So,
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank both of you for attending all those meetings. They weren't easy. There was a lot of clarifications and questions, and we brought in the big gun, and I'd like to thank you also, Steve.
yeah.
So, is there any further discussion?
I'd just like to comment on the fact that I think they had actually a wonderful opportunity where they had all three legal counsels able to meet at the same time. That's nothing short of a miracle. And they needed to pull it off, and they did. So I echo what you all have said. It's been terrific working with you. The previous amendment was typed on an Apple IIe, so now we're moving into 2018, 2019 with a new improved regional agreement amendment, and it will go to town meetings in the fall. So thank you so much.
I would just add to both lawyers, all three lawyers wanted to get this to work, so they did want to work together. So
They really did, didn't they?
They did their clients with that. I've also indicated to Ruth, and I've also indicated to your new superintendent in the fall, I'll gladly attend your town meeting. So if there's questions on that, because any questions, I'll be glad to be there.
Any other questions before I move to the vote? Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We moved this document, for those who are not familiar with it, from something that was written and revised and changed and written on in the early 90s to 2018, and it's something that we wanted to get cleaned up. So it appears that we have it cleaned up. All right. That document has to go to the boards of selectmen.
Should put that on the agenda really for their next meetings.
They have to vote it. It has to, I think, go back to Desi as amended,
No, it's all set. Desi, it's what he said. Desi's
Okay.
fine. Yep.
and then it has to go to town meeting in the fall. And if Whitman is going to run a special meeting, if not, it'll be May for them, so. But I hear that there's a
They
chance of
hope
that.
to be able to do it in the
Right.
fall. They
They
know
hope
it's
to.
They hope to,
important
yes.
to get it done.
So,
So, good progress.
okay. Next up is introduction of new principals.
Okay, and I'm going to ask Jeff Simonak to come forward, because these are the folks who are going to be working with him as we move into the 2018-2019 school year. So as you know, we had several search committees. We had wonderful people helping us with those. Here at the high school, Lauren Matheson, coordinator of special education at the high school, coordinated the high school search. For the search for Indian Head School, Bill Tranter took care of that. And Karen Downey was involved with the Whitman Middle School and has been helping us as well with the other opening at Duval. So I just want to thank them and then turn it over to Jeff.
Thank you, Dr. Whitman. It's a pleasure to introduce our three new folks. Jill Cottrell is going to be the new principal at Indian Head School. We introduced her to the staff the other day.
Juana?
Dr. Christopher Jones is the new high school principal. He was introduced to the staff today. And the guy in the far corner, I don't think Whitman Middle knows who he is, but Mr. Michael Grable is the new principal at Whitman Middle. His staff knows him pretty well, and he's been holding the fort while Mr. Farrow's been away in New York City. It's been a great search process. I think we have fantastic people in place right now. Staff reaction to the folks that are here has been extremely positive. They were accessible and answered questions today and yesterday. Jill, I think, going over to Mequon Indian Head and relieving some anxiety for the teachers was really important. Chris was able to meet my staff today, or my former staff today, and I think was able to have a little bit of a back and forth with folks. He's had some conversations with my assistant, and he's met with Bob already, so we have some plans already for the summer. And Mike has been holding the fort, like I said, but is transitioning into that new role. And I think we have a really good team in place. We are hopefully going to finish up on Friday. We have some interviews on Friday for the Duval principal position, and hopefully we can finish that up and let you folks know where we're at early next week. Do you have any questions for these folks? Do you want to say anything?
Come on up.
I just wanted to thank everybody so much for this opportunity. I'm so excited to be part of Indian Head and part of your school district, and I'm just so excited to jump right in and get going, and I'm just really excited for this opportunity to show you what we can do. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Without being too redundant, I'm excited as well. I hear great things about Whitman-Hanson Regional High School, and I really look forward to stepping into this position and taking it to even greater heights than already.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
I just want to apologize for the way I'm dressed. I come and give out some John's. Then I found out that I was being introduced tonight, so I think George was a little excited to go on the trip. He forgot to tell me. So I'm very excited about the position, and I can't wait to get started.
You didn't forget.
You got pants on.
George's getting picked up.
Mike, we'll
already.
take that out on George at a later date.
But I want to reiterate and thank Bill, Karen, and Lauren for doing this. This is a tedious process, and going through resumes and answering questions and meeting upon meeting, and then coming up with consensus and putting forth very good candidates for us to select. And I think we really have a good team going forward come July 1.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, this evening, we're also going to welcome Tina Sidstone, who is going to be giving the CPAC report. This is the Special Ed Parent Advisory Council. And this is all part of special education here at Whitman-Hanson. They meet regularly. They have speakers. They do a variety of different things. In the upcoming school year, 2018-2019, Whitman-Hanson will be going through a coordinated program review. And one of those things is really looking at our special education program. And they do that because we get money from the federal government to fund special education, about $1 million, which really does help us. So clearly having a Parents Advisory Council is very important to the program. So we're glad you could be here this evening.
Thank you. I want to introduce as well Jim Fitzgerald. He is the co-chair. We co-chair the team together. So this year we kind of took the CPAC, which kind of was, I don't want to say non-existent, it just wasn't very popular. Most people didn't even know the district had one. We took it this year. We kind of try to build it up this year. So we held 8 meetings this year from October through, we have one again next week, compared to the 4 or 6 that were normal, the annual. So we've definitely kind of hyped it up. We've increased our attendance. We had 24 different parents show up this year. As crazy as that's a little number for the population of special ed, it's a bonus. We had 12 at the most at one meeting. But I thought that was good numbers. For the first meeting, we had 4 of us show up, and by the end, we had over 24 throughout the course of the year, which I thought was a really big thing for us. It was a good way to do it. Something that Whitman-Hanson, at least if they've had it, they haven't had it for years. We've created bylaws and a mission statement, so that way we can really get this up and running. Rolling. I created some social media. If any of you on the town pages probably see me blasting all this, come to our meetings all over the place, and I'm just trying to get the word out there. The Whitman-Hanson Express has been really good. They've been posting it. We elected some some board members on the team. So we have our co-chairs, we have a secretary, we have a school representative for each school. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone for preschool or Whitman middle yet, because we haven't had anyone attend the meetings from those, so no one has been able to volunteer for that role yet, but hopefully we'll get them soon. Lisa Forbes has been helping us. We're going to have a CPAC page right on the district, so that way the parents can try to find us that way as well. I'm trying to think. We sent out a survey at the beginning of the school year. It was more of a when's good dates for you, what topics could the CPAC bring into you to help out, do you even know that we exist type of questions, as well as the district had an open-ended question on like what could we do better. So we got some good feedback. We take the top priorities. One of the biggest things that people want is a resource. They need resources. People don't necessarily know resources. So we're going to work on something hopefully big to do work with that. But so that's kind of where we're standing right now. And the last thing before I let Jim take over is we're going to start exploring opening up a nonprofit to start fundraising so that we can bring some speakers in and not, on the district's dime. So we were pretty lucky this year. We brought school people in, and the district's attorney came in and did the annual Basics Rights one, but we're going to try to see if we can up this up. So that's what we've done so far this year, and I'm going to let Jim talk about what our plans are for next year. Very exciting.
Great. Thank you, Tina.
Yeah, we are very excited for the next school year. I have to say, of course, one of the key things is we want to promote awareness of our group. That being said, back in September, I don't think I know what the CPAC was, and now I'm the co-chair. So we've come a long way, and we have grown over the course of this year, and hope to continue to grow. To kind of publicize that, we're hoping to create some brochures, just informational brochures about the CPAC. Include like a welcome letter and attend school events like open houses as well. We also are planning to have an article in the Whitman-Hanson Express later this summer. So just trying to get awareness out there that our group exists, that people are welcome to come and participate, and we're looking forward to it. For next year, we have 10 meetings planned that will start in September and run through June. Are we doing monthly, right? Yeah. Monthly meetings focusing on student safety, meet and greets with the administration and special education staff, and feedback on kind of all the transitions that our district has been going through. We're also planning our first annual, so there'll be many more to come, CPAC Family Picnic Day, where we're hoping to partner with local first responders to come and interact with special education students, have some lunch and just have a nice event there. We're also looking into other agencies as well to present. We had the ARC of Greater Plymouth and of Brockton present this year, so we're hoping to build on that and have some other agencies come out. And then lastly, as Tina was saying, in the results of the survey that we sent out, definitely learning and information about resources was a common theme. And so we're in the stages of planning a resource fair. We hope to have in early fall 2019, where we can have kind of all sorts of agencies and businesses come out, and people have access to information and get to learn more about resources in the area for students with special needs. So we're very, very excited about it. I'm very excited to be working. I give Tina all the credit because she's, she really built this up over the past year, and I'm looking forward to help out in the coming year.
Thank you.
Well, and thank you for your leadership with this. It's terrific, and I think your plans for the upcoming year are exciting, and get the momentum going. It would be terrific.
Thank you very much. I think you've done a great
Jeff
job.
wants to add.
I see it. I think you've done a great job Facebook-wise. I've seen
Do you
quite a
see
few
me?
Facebook things.
Whitman has like one Facebook page, where Hanson's got like 20, so I try to put it everywhere I can find it. So.
Whitman has plenty. There's more than one.
Is there? I'll have to
Oh, yeah.
find the others.
There's a few.
I
And-
just want to commend Tina and I met. I'm going to be at their next CPAC meeting, kind of introducing myself as the superintendent. They have some great ideas for next year, and I think supporting that, and a couple things, we talked about school safety. Sometimes we miss a population of students when we talk about school safety, and we're going to try to meet, because of our relationships with our first responders, bring them in and educate them about some of our most needy children in our district. So at school and at home. So these are the types of things that they have some great ideas. The resource fair next spring, I think, is going to knock it out of the park, because that's what our parents need. They need someone outside of the school. Where can they reach out for their child once they graduate from where they're at? So these folks, I give them a lot of credit. They've been reaching out to me. I'm going to be in there in September, but looking at our multiple agencies within the district, so I think getting our town officials involved and our local police chiefs involved in their group is a great idea. I think it's a great kickoff.
I could,
Fred, go ahead.
would you be opposed to a school committee member attending your meetings?
No, it's okay.
You know, number one, you know, because time permitting, I'd love to,
Yeah,
you know, I'd love to come.
We'll
Also,
Post them on the website, so
Yep,
you'll have
it's the
that.
second Tuesday of the month is where our fallback is right now, so pretty much the day.
and I know
before.
Steve here works tirelessly with our collaboratives, and perhaps there's, you know, a meeting of the minds, so to speak, and some services that the collaboratives can provide, or pathways, you know, some different things that, you know, just informational, so to speak.
Thank you.
Okay,
It'd
great.
probably be a good idea to formulate an email chain, maybe with the committee,
Okay,
so we kind of have a heads up on what you're doing if any of us want to attend,
sure,
or try to help you. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Welcome.
It's
Thank
very,
you.
very well needed.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to switch down to Bob Rogers?
Yeah, I was going to do that next.
Bob, why don't you come up?
There's 3 different handouts.
Oh, I think we gave them to them.
Oh, was it? I don't know if it was in the packet or not.
I didn't get,
Oh, you did then, okay.
Yeah, but that's all right. You can
Okay,
have-
that's terrific.
Whatever you sent to me, I sent to Michelle for
Excellent.
the packet.
Excellent. So, good evening. The athletic season is winding down. Our girls lacrosse team had an exciting win at Nauset last night. The MIA did not give us much time. They actually played today at Notre Dame. It was not a very pretty result. They're very good, but our girls left with smiles on their face. They had a great season. And our baseball team is the last team that's left. They are competing tomorrow at home in the first round of the state tournament against Nauset. Hopefully, the team is poised to have a good run. We have a few athletes left for the heptathlon and the decathlon. Other than that, that will wrap up the athletic season, and you will soon I'll find a way through Dr. Whitner to get you guys a link to the end of the year report. That is almost done. We're just waiting for those last few sports to go. So I have 2 items tonight that I wanted to present to you. The first one's, I think, going to be pretty easy, and that is we need a new scoreboard at the turf field. There are 36 panels in that current scoreboard that we have that is quite old. And each one of those to replace costs between $1,600 and $2,000. We've already had to replace 4 of them. The main panel, which is the minute number on the scoreboard, has just died on us. So we have to, if we keep that scoreboard, we're going to have to replace it. The entire thing is going to keep dying. We have frequency problems with it in terms of the connection between the scoreboard and our controller. If you've ever been to the game and see it look kind of funky, I know Michelle said she saw that at one of the games, yes. So the bottom line is we need a new scoreboard. We tried to get it through the capital plan in the towns, and it just, obviously, there are a lot of priorities. So I started to figure out, how can I get it without needing the school or the towns to have to pay? So we've been able to secure a $25,000 donation from the Frizzoli Foundation. J.J. Frizzoli was a terrific football player, wrestler, and student athlete here at Whitman-Hanson. They've been very generous. They gave out some scholarships in this first year, the foundation did, and they've committed $25,000 to this project. His name will be on the scoreboard at some point. The picture that you guys received, there will be an additional panel at the bottom, and part of that will recognize J.J. Frizzoli and remember him, which I think is really good because he represented the ideals that we want here at Whitman-Hanson. In addition to that, there will be the 2 advertising panels that you see. Those sponsors are not committed, but I have been in conversations with them, and I made this up so they could see what it would look like, and I'll be looking for 2 more sponsors as well. In addition to that, that panel that you see where you can see the quarterback, That is a video panel, which is going to open up so many doors for us to be able to raise revenue here at Whitman-Hanson for our athletic program. As you all know, we are one of the least funded athletic programs, maybe the least funded athletic program in our league. Pretty much we don't fund for officials, we don't fund for buses, we don't fund for the athletic trainer, we don't fund for uniforms, we don't fund for equipment. It's very difficult to sustain our athletic program with a limited budget. And we make it work through fundraising, through gate receipts, and through user fees. And we really don't want to raise the user fees because our community, frankly, a lot of families can't afford that. So I think this scoreboard, to have the ability to put advertising on it, could be a sustainable source of revenue moving forward, which would mean the committee would have to, there is the policy, the advertising policy, and what I'm asking this committee to do, a couple things in regard to this. The first one is to accept the donations for the scoreboard, the first from the Frisoli Foundation, and then from, and I would certainly let you know who the other sponsors will be, but allow me to go try to get sponsors for this scoreboard so that we don't have to ask for any money. And then the other part of that would be for you to give myself, Dr. Jones, and the superintendent, Mr. Simonak, to be able to contract for advertisers on that scoreboard at soccer games, at playoff games, at football games, at Thanksgiving, because I think it's a great way for community members to get their message out. That video board is also a safety issue. If you've been to a football game or a soccer game, it's hard to hear the PA. It's hard to hear what the announcer says about where to park, where not to park, where the safety officers are. We're going to be able to put really important messages that people that attend our events can see, to be able to recognize students that are doing great in the community. This scoreboard, I think, will have a great effect on not just our athletic program, but our school community. So that's what I'm asking you guys to do, is to allow us to accept the donations that will help fund this. I will have to fund a portion of this because we have to do this very soon through our athletic revolving account, which I can say we have that money right now to do that. And we will replenish it as we get the advertisers to sustain this. So that's what I'm looking for the committee to do tonight as it relates to this scoreboard. And the scoreboard, by the way, this is a Nevco scoreboard. I have gone out to requesting other bids to try to get a better price. This roughly, the cost of this will be roughly $50,000 installed. But there's another really reputable scoreboard company who's going to give me a very similar type scoreboard, and they're going to give me a quote on that. I'm hoping to kind of pit these two guys against each other and maybe get a better price. So, but that's where we are with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
if I could add something before you have a discussion. We do have a policy, KHB, called Advertising in Schools. And what that says essentially is, let's say Bob does the scoreboard, and you all determine that you're going to allow other organizations to advertise on the bottom of it. So that needs to go to the high school principal, in this case, and then also to the superintendent for final approval. The rates, however, are set by the school committee. So as you move forward with this, I think you'll be working with Chris and Jeff and the committee to determine what would those rates be as the scoreboard gets up and running. But that's essentially what the policy is.
Right. I think in order to make this work, I'd have to come up with some creative packages for the community in terms of by this many events, this is the number of times we'll play it.
And then present it to this group.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
And then what we typically do is just couple that with the policy so it's there, and if over time you need to change the rates, then you
Perfect.
can do it.
Perfect.
There's also in the policy that you have to be very careful that your ads don't discriminate against any kind of a group or promote the use of tobacco, alcohol, those kinds of things.
Right. I think that yes, right.
I'd entertain a motion to accept 1, 2, and 3 together as printed.
I'll make that motion, providing everything is in accordance with our stated advertising policy.
We can get into that if it's seconded on discussion.
Second.
Discussion. Go ahead, Fred.
Just as Ruth was mentioning, we do have specific policies in providing, that all advertisers do meet those guidelines.
Yes.
Bob, in the placement, you and I have had this discussion several times. The scoreboard needs to be placed. You can't see it. When you're in the booth and you're announcing a game or calling a game, the scoreboard's in the wrong position.
And in a lot of places in the bleachers as well. So it would be a lot cheaper for me to put a new scoreboard right on the existing poles, but we're not going to do that. It would also be cheaper for me to buy a simpler scoreboard, but this is going to be something that's going to move us into the next 20 years to have a scoreboard that, again, I really think this video board is going to really help us with safety and communication with the school. It's where you're going to see a lot of schools move to as the technology changes. Like to have a board like that, that board is 4 feet by 10 feet, the video board. That's pretty big. And to be able to have something like that at a high school venue is going to be pretty impressive. And you're going to start to see more and more schools do that. So I don't want to put a cheap one up and then like 5 years down the road, everybody else is following suit. The really nice scoreboard that at the athletic director conference, and they wanted Whitman-Hanson to be like a charter school because they know how big we are with technology. We're the model school for Huddle, which is the video platform that high schools and colleges and even the pros use. And we are the only school in the country that has, it's kind of a secret thing, but if you look in the gym, you'll see a camera system up there that records the games automatically without a camera person. And because they know that we're in that, this company, ScoreVision, wanted us to be the first one to have. So basically what it is just a giant LED board. And it's like, costs over $200,000, and they wanted to give it to us for like $125,000. And I just can't commit us to raising that much money at this point. They wanted to fly me down to the College Baseball World Series to demo it. I'm like, I know how great the product is, it's I don't have the money. So they keep coming down on the price, but I don't think they'll ever come down to where we can afford it. It's beautiful, though.
You can ask.
Yeah, well, they know that, they've kept coming back, but there's all kinds of other things, the $5,000 annual licensing fee because their software is so spectacular, and right now they're not budging off of that. But anyway, this is the score. You're not voting on this exact scoreboard, you're voting on a scoreboard, and it's going to be roughly within that range.
Will we be able to replace on that 4x10 area?
We're hoping. That's not 100% decided yet because it's going to be some of the technology to be able to get from the press box to that, but we're hoping that that's what it would be. It wouldn't be anything controversial because we don't want the officials to take any grief. But
So I missed that question, Fred. What was that?
Will we be able to show replays?
Oh, replays.
yeah, right now my plan is mostly
Pretty much.
information, game information, and advertising. Might have like the lineup for a team, the captains, a sportsmanship message. All of our captains record a sportsmanship message. If you've been at the games, you've heard the captains give the welcome. Usually you would hear it. Now you'll see it and hear it, which I think will be a nice touch.
Bob,
You have any other questions, Chris? Dan?
yeah, Bob, the video part, besides the school, if it's a non-school use of the field, are we going to allow that too?
That's going to be something we're going to have to work on. I'm not really going to be super comfortable. They're going to have access.
No, that's my concern.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
going to
want
have
other
access.
people using
They're
it.
going to have access to the scoreboard,
Yeah.
but I don't think we're going to give them access to the video board. I think the video board will scroll a Whitman-Hanson positive message about sportsmanship or whatever it is that would just continue to scroll during the game. If it was a Super Bowl Sunday, their Super Bowl or something, and there was a way for us to make sure that it was done properly, we always try to work with the community the best we can because obviously they're the ones that. The reason why we have the fields and things like that. So we do the best, and they know we work with them. But I think they'd be understanding that we wouldn't want a lot of people using something that's really high-tech.
Only because high-tech, we don't want the stuff broken. I mean, you see it all
Absolutely.
the time.
Absolutely.
One person doesn't know what they're doing,
Absolutely.
so.
Chris?
So I know the motions for 1, 2, and 3, and so as it pertains to 2 and 3, are we saying we're going to allow it, but kind of come back within the
It
policy?
everything has to come back, Chris.
So,
So what we're not going to do, though, is we're not going to come back for each individual, every time we make a deal with somebody to advertise, but what we'll do is we'll come up with the rates for it. Like, once we have it, we'll say, okay, for a football game, this package is worth this much, and you guys will ratify that and decide it. And we'll decide, like, what kind of companies, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate.
Right.
And
So-
I'll work with Dr. Jones and Mr. Simonak to make sure that we're doing that.
because I think setting those parameters, I know you mentioned in the memo, I think maybe a couple permanent sponsors, and so
Yeah,
things
so
like
that
that,
is-
whether it's permanent or whether it's a long-term, but.
So once I'm ready to figure out who's going to be on the board permanently, I'll come back to the board to let you know. Just to give you an idea, I'm trying to get $10,000 for a 20-year or life of the board agreement for these sponsors. And I don't want to tell you the other people because I'll be watching it on TV, but I have one really big sponsor that he really wants to do it, and he's trying his best. And I think we'll get them. I'm hoping that we're going to get at least 3 of those for about $10,000. Now, I might have to negotiate and go back down to 5, but I'll come back to you before any deal becomes ratified and I agree with anybody.
Chris?
Bob, are there any stipulations with the donation as far as what type of scoreboard or anything like that that Fazoli's have?
I'm sorry, say that again?
With their donation, are there any stipulations in terms of what it's, I mean, I know it's going for a scoreboard, but,
Are you talking about from the Frisoli Foundation?
Yes.
No, they donated, they're all on board for whatever scoreboard we want to put in. They're going to donate $25,000. They donated the indoor batting cage that you guys accepted last year. So they've been very generous. They donated $10,000. One of our students, Brett Holmes, got a $10,000 scholarship. And I think 4 more students got like $1,000 or $1,500.
Bob, 4 by 10 is pretty small. I have a Daktronics electronic.
They're bidding.
It's 4 by 8.
They're going to bid on
At my business in
Daktronics is going to
Abington.
give us a
And
bid on it.
it's
We can
pretty
get
small.
bigger. We can get bigger, but the cost goes up. So that's what it just comes down to, the cost. 4 by 10 will be big enough to be able to give a message that people can read in a stadium. It's not going to be like Fenway Park where you see a great replay and it's like, oh, his foot was on the line. You're not going to see that. But you're going to be able to see the message. You're going to be able to see the advertising. I would like it to be bigger. I'm going to see what the other vendor comes up with maybe a cheaper price or a bigger board but a more competitive price.
That's what I was getting at. I have a 4 by 8, but it's 4 by 8 on 2 sides. And it was Daktronics, and it was like 26,000.
Yes, and that's not a scoreboard with it.
Right.
And that's not, yeah, so they're expensive, they're expensive. The ScoreVision one, if you guys saw it, you'd be blown away. It really gives high school venues and college venues the feel that you're at Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park. It's really incredible, but they're very expensive.
Yeah, but just think of the publicity they'll get from it.
I know, I know.
So to make this, so everybody understands it, the motion and the second is for 1, 2, and 3, and the policy also is referring to the policy book that we have currently in place, which includes contacting the principal in the building and the superintendent and approval of school committee. So we have several layers of protection here before anything moves forward. This is moving it forward with all of those stipulations. Does anyone have any problem with that motion and that second? Speak now, please. I'm going to move to the vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. Bob, thank you.
Excellent. The next thing I have for you is unique. Fred Small actually had a great idea that he's been talking about for a couple of years again, we're always trying to find a way to raise revenue. And I'm not really about this as much about the revenue, although we can use every penny we get. And his idea was to maybe have some VIP parking that we sold down by closer to the field. My concern as the athletic director is safety. If you're at our game on a Friday night, as hard as we try, no matter how many police officers we have, people double park, they park in fire lanes, they park by fire hydrants, and it really creates a situation when an ambulance has to get in that it's hard to navigate. We have kids running in the parking lot while people are trying to back up. So I want to create an environment down there where the parking is a little bit more structured, a little bit safer, and I think we can do 2 things. We can make the area safer, and we can make some money in the process. It's not just about money. So the idea is to do this. And Duxbury High School already does something similar where they have an area where it's kind of VIP parking. We would make the entire junior lot, which is 150 spaces. The entire junior lot would be either prepaid permit parking that people can buy, and I'll explain that in a moment, or day of parking for $10. Everybody else would be instructed, if you don't want that and you want free parking, we're going to have ample free parking, you just come up to the high school. It's a very short walk. In fact, from a lot of the places in this senior lot up here, it's a shorter walk from there than it is if you're in the further part of the junior lot. We won't advertise that too much to people because we want them to buy the parking passes. But what this is going to allow us to do is to make sure we only have the right amount of cars that are supposed to be in that area. And I think the parents are going to enjoy it. It might even help me collect our user fees, because one of the things that we will do, I will offer to every parent, this is only for football games too, by the way, for now, and we'll see what happens as we move forward. It's the only event that girls soccer has a lot of fans, but nothing like football. I will offer to all the parents, at the time you buy your user fee, you pay your user fee, you can also buy a parking pass for $30. So hopefully that will encourage people to buy their parking pass. Anybody who doesn't pay their user fee, any general community member that wants to buy a season pass, that'll be $50. The day of the game, it will be $10. Probably going to have 6 to 7 home football games. It's hard to say because you don't know about the playoffs. We have Thanksgiving this year. So I think it's going to be good. We will definitely, I want to warn you, I mean, obviously the first reaction from some people will be, you're charging for high school parking? And the easy answer to that is we have free parking very close to the stadium for you to access. You do not have to participate in this. And it is, and I'm very sincere when I say this, because in the grand scheme of things, we might make $4,000 to $5,000 in this, if that's what I'm hoping we're going to make, which is maybe 1 or 2 teams getting uniforms, which is something that I would desperately like to do. But it's really going to make that area safer. And if you've been to a game, you know what I'm talking about. It's really something that we've kind of hold your breath every time that everything's going to be okay down there. And I think this is going to help alleviate that situation. And if we do it and we don't like it, we don't do it next year.
Question? Fred?
Well, and I know we had discussion, but for the rest of the committee, if somebody has a handicap placard,
Yes. Anybody that has a handicap placard will be allowed to park for free in that area. The football team, the Gridiron Club, also would like to have one spot down there designated as a VIP spot, which they're going to raffle off, which I can't tell you how thankful we are for the Gridiron Club because, again, they're the ones that buy the uniforms. They're the ones that do the decals. They're the ones that do the banquets. They're the ones that buy the equipment that's out on the field, and we're very thankful for them. And so if you guys approve this, I would then approve to them to give them one spot that they can raffle off. They only ask for one game, but I would allow them to have it for the entire season, to have that as a VIP spot that they would manage for that.
Well, I'm trying to convince myself.
Yeah. Took me a while, Bob.
To vote for this. I guess, has there been any feedback from the community at all as to whether this would work? I mean, I'm sure you did some background on it, but I'm thinking.
I talked to Duxbury. I talked to the Duxbury folks, and obviously Duxbury's not Whitman-Hanson. A lot of people in Duxbury are like, I'd love to park up front, because if you've ever been over to Duxbury, it's a nightmare over there. And they said he doesn't recall anybody complaining about it. Again, I think it's because we have parking. If people come and are like, oh my gosh, and I have to park down the street, no, you're going to have very easy parking. It's very simple. And I would communicate that to the entire community. We have Athletic First Night coming up next Wednesday, which, by the way, you're all invited to. We have a couple of great speakers that will be there. And I'll explain it that night. If you guys approve it tonight, I'll explain exactly what we're doing. So that'll kind of hopefully head that off in a lot of ways. And again, the whole mission of this is for safety.
So, if I come into a game, I would be directed where to park as far as free parking or the
Yes.
$10 parking?
Yes, I'd have some signs made up that pointed where the free parking was, and then permit parking and per game parking prices there.
Dan?
I have a concern only, I mean, I'd love to have the revenue coming in, but school grounds is a taxpayer's privilege to be up here. We shouldn't be charging to park up at a game.
Dan, I thought that as well, but
I'm afraid of that feedback you're going to get.
But one of the things I would say is they're taxpayers and we charge them to come into the game, and they're taxpayers and we charge them to go to the plays. You know, there's sometimes things cost, you know, it's going to be a premium to be able to park there, and they're still going to have a parking spot. They're still going to have some place that's very easy for them to park. And I think, again, it comes back to the safety of the people that are there. You've been there, Dan. You go to a lot of games. You know how crazy it is out there.
Yeah, because sometimes I wish you could just stick a tow truck down there and rip them right out of
Well, me too. Me too.
Big buddy there.
Chris?
It's been a while since I've been to a football game, Bob, but do you have any traffic management details or anything now?
Well, again, we're very short on budget, money-wise, so this would help us with that. That I would end up hiring people to be down there.
Yeah.
We hire police details, and they do help a little bit before the game, and then obviously at the end.
Yeah.
But when you have that many and you have people going multiple directions,
Sure.
It's very difficult.
So my thought on possible feedback might not be so much having a close parking spot to the field, but getting out. You know what I mean? If you're way up and it's tough. It's the only thing I can imagine.
Oh, yeah, so to answer that question, yes. At the end of every game, I have police details directing traffic as they leave the stadium. The police details that are helping us with security during the game. I pay them for 4 hours, and they conclude by helping with traffic at the conclusion of the game.
Bob, to add to that, because I go to almost all the games, as you know. If you've ever been to a youth game here,
Yes, even
it
great
makes the high school
Yes.
game, have you thought about adding this to youth games?
Well,
'Cause
let's
you talk
try-
about safety,
I-
it's
yeah.
disastrous when
I
there's
think this
youth.
is something that if we have some success with it this year, that would be one of the things I would want to talk to the youth people and show them what we did and invite them to kind of take part in it as well. But I have to be honest, I don't know how this is going to work, Bob. I don't know.
Yeah.
When I found out that Duxbury was doing it, when Fred first proposed it, it kind of like made me a little bit skittish about it. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought it was something that's worth at least trying.
Have you heard of other communities that have tried this at all?
Just Duxbury is the only one that I know of.
Bob, I went to Duxbury to answer that question. Pouring rainy night, I'm with 40, we go to Duxbury. We pull in, they have a horrible parking lot to start out with. They've got all these roundabouts and it's too busy. So we pull right up front. Well, we're sitting in the car, it's pouring rain out. Guy comes over, knocks on the window, says, you've got to leave. What do you mean? He says, people pay $500.
Yes, they pay more.
There's silver and there's gold.
And that includes admission to the game?
Yes.
That includes admission to the game.
And so we had to move. So as we moved naturally, other people moved in, and the same thing was happening as it went on. So this isn't Duxbury, I understand that, and I'm not putting...
No, I understand that. I'm just thinking it's like fee, and I just have a problem with fees. I understand the purpose.
And they also have, how I got myself to this is that they also have very convenient parking up top as long as they recognize it. Because I'll tell you that in a lot of places up in that lot, you will get to the field quicker from the upper lot than you will from the deepest parts of that lower lot. So it's not a fee. They don't have to pay that fee. They can park for free. We have a spot for them, and they have that if they want it.
Yeah, you're giving away our secret, though, when you park at that corner.
Yes, right.
Go ahead, Ally, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Oh, it's okay. No, I just lost my train of thought. How much is it for admission to the game?
$5.
$5. So what if you were to package something where if you buy a season pass, maybe increase the price a little bit more, you get into the game for free because
I'm
you're
trying.
paying for the
So that's
game,
what
you're paying the user fee.
So that's what
now
Duxbury.
paying for
That's what Duxbury does. That's what Duxbury does. To me, it's just harder. So the Duxbury AD explained to me what he does is they have this ticket system where they get a ticket from him that he then, it's really hard to keep track of. So one of the things I have to do for the auditors is to be able to tell how many people came into the game tonight, how many people paid, this is how much money we had, so that they know that nobody's doing anything funny and that this is how much money should be there. So if I had people coming in a carload and maybe that car had 2 and then that car had 5 and they're just coming into the game, it would be really hard for me to account for the number of people that were there. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided that probably, at least right now, that's not something that I think I want to, logistically, I've never been a parking lot attendant manager. I don't know how this is going to go. I really don't. I'm coming to you with an idea that I think can solve 2 problems, and we can try it for a year, and if we don't like it, we can undo it.
My next question was, who's going to be monitoring this? Who's going to be watching the parking lot and letting people in? And how are you going to know who has the season pass and who's paying?
Right. So I will hire people for that, for parking lot control, and I'll use the revenue from this to help pay for that. And we will make up passes that will be numbered, and I'll know who has whatever number that it is, and we'll be giving to them, to the people that buy the passes. They'll get that, and I'll be able to know who has what pass and how many we've given out and how many spaces we can sell.
Mike?
Yeah. I think between safety and revenue, I'm all for trying it this year. I think my scare would be that kids, they had to pay to come and they not coming to the game would stink. But like you said, many free options up back. I mean, you got to walk. Right. That's where we park. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but right. I'm all for trying it.
And the other thing that's another really good point, Mike, is that one of the things that's going to happen is the people that are going to buy these will most likely be the adults, the better drivers. This parking lot's a lot easier to navigate, and those student drivers will be up here in the free parking.
Okay, we've already got into discussion without a motion. I kind of let that get away a little bit, but that's all right.
Make a
And it-
motion to proceed with the parking fees as presented.
Second.
Did I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bush, thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I do. When's that meeting that you have?
Wednesday night
And where's it going to be?
in the Performing Arts Center.
What time?
So we have, so 6 o'clock is when most of the program starts. That's the best time to come.
Approximately how long does that meeting last?
That's going to go about 2 hours. We have a sports psychologist that's coming in. She deals with positive psychology. And we have somebody that's going to speak about substance abuse, chemical health, safety for our students. Our athletic trainer will have a presentation on the concussion protocol and general safety. And I'll give some of the school rules in terms of eligibility and some of the other motivational things that we hope the students get for over the summer.
And the parking lot will be discussed.
Parking lot will be free parking.
No.
So I'm going to explain it to them. It's not going to be a discussion like, what do you guys think? Because if you guys vote on this tonight, then
No, I understand that.
I'm going to move forward with it. I'm going to explain to them the reasons for this. I'm going to explain to them about the safety. And a lot of parents, I've had so many parents tell me about like that they get very worried about what happens there. That Ernie Sandlin is the best. I told him I was really worried about after school when kids leave. If you're ever down here, when the kids will cut down that junior lot and they're flying down there, and all you need is one kid to come out. And I explained that to Ernie, and Jeff and I had that meeting, and next thing you know, he's got those speed bumps out there. That parking lot is that parking system. You guys know this whole school. The parking is a problem. The entries to the school is a problem. So we just have to make the best. Yeah, we have to make the best of what we can do with what we have. I think most people are going to be agreeable. And if not, they'll be throwing darts at me. I'll do it right after the positive psychologist.
Dan?
I just want to see if we could just make it for like a one-year trial.
Yes.
And then revisit this.
We've already discussed, we're going to make it as a 1 year.
Yep.
And we'd like you to report to us at the end of the year whether it's working or whether it's not working.
Yep, I'll come back and give you the complete feedback. I'll keep a notebook in terms of the discussions I have with people, and I'll let you know how much money we make. I'll let you know where that money was, what it was used for, and I'll let you know, do we feel like the parking lot was safer?
Bob?
I'm assuming that Mr. Simonak and Mr. Jones are...
In all honesty, I haven't had a chance to talk to Dr. Jones
Okay.
about it yet, but Jeff and I have been discussing it,
Okay.
and we're on the same page, and Dr. Jones doesn't want it, I won't do it.
Anyone else before we move to the vote? Okay, so the motion is to accept.
Michelle had a question. Oh, never mind.
What else?
Never mind. She had a question.
The motion is to accept the proposal as proposed.
That's not what I wrote, but that's okay.
There you go. Michelle, you're going to be paying a parking fee, you keep it up.
It's gonna give him $50 for the year.
Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
guys.
Bob.
Thank you. Thank you. Not too late tomorrow, baseball, 4 o'clock.
That's right.
Bob, when do you want my money?
He wants to be the first pass.
That's number one.
Okay,
Okay, ready to
back to the agenda as it is.
Great. One of the things we just wanted to do for you this evening, I know you've just met our new principals. We still have openings. They're moving forward, as we mentioned to you earlier, with replacing the Duval principal position. We hope to have information for you very soon on that. We also have openings for assistant principal at Indian Head School and assistant principal at Whitman Middle School. So those are beginning to move forward now that we have the principals in place. So that's what we're working on, and as we said, we're very grateful to the folks who've been working with us on these search committees. As you know, money was put in the budget to begin a plan to add one-to-one devices to the school system, and Chad Peters is going to report to you about that now, and you have a piece in front of you, right here. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to give an update on the Chromebook situation that and the quantities that we have just going from the year, because I know that that's been a hot topic with everyone, and we've been accumulating Chromebooks over the year. I believe we've added 600 or so over the year, since the beginning of the year. The total that we have right now is about 1,760 Chromebook devices, spread out through all the schools, and on the front page, it actually has a breakdown per school. If you remember back when we went through the budget, we went through a bunch of different scenarios on how we were going to look at the one-to-one initiative, and we looked at it from a one-to-one where every student got one, or we were going to do a cart-based, which is, a cart of 25-plus devices in every classroom. When we did the numbers, the carts actually come out to more devices than the actual students themselves, because the number of classrooms and teachers and ancillary elective classrooms and things like that. So we, in talking with the principals and the administration, we decided to go towards the cart-based deployment of the Chromebooks. And we've been doing this for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's worked out well, having a cart. And up till this point, the teachers have been sharing carts, moving them around, and they have a calendar and things like that they've been doing. But over the last year, we've been increasing the numbers up to the 1,700, and it's been getting a lot better. We've been spreading them out a lot more, and more teachers actually have devices in their classrooms. So I wanted to give an update as to where we are now. So we're at the 1,760. We're probably, in order to fully get to the one cart in every classroom, it's going to be in the neighborhood of about 4,000, somewhere around there. So we do have a little ways to go. But because we had the money we put into our budget for this year, the 40,000, to start this initiative to little by little increase the number of devices, we were able to get 600 new devices for next year. And the breakdown of that is 475 for the middle school and 125 for the high school. The middle schools were prioritized because of their math and science program that they're using, that they started this year, and they're going to be moving into next year fully in the 7th and 8th grade, where they need the Chromebooks because all their curriculum's online. So we prioritize them first. And once we acquire these 475 for the middle schools, they'll be in really good shape for one-to-one. I think they're going to be about 4 or 5 carts of devices short of having one in every classroom in the middle school. So we're actually in really good shape in that one. The best school actually is Duval. They purchased 117 devices, I think, this spring, with a lot of the money that they've raised for some of the initiatives that they've been doing with the PAC and the PTOs. So for their grades 2 to 5, which is where we designated the Chromebooks to be used, they're almost at, I think they're 3 or 4 carts away from actually having one in every classroom for every kid. So they've moved quite a bit, and a lot to do with their smaller enrollment size, and it's kind of decreasing over the last few years, but they've bought a lot over the last few years, and this year they made a big push with the 117 that they did. So they're pretty close to being one for every student in the classrooms. So what I did was I just updated this chart for during the budget season. I originally gave this, and I just updated it for the new Chromebooks that we purchased over the year, and then taken into consideration, we'll be actually moving forward with the 18-19 purchase of the 600. Any questions on that?
Christine?
Yes.
Go ahead, Fred. I think we're going to ask the same question. Go ahead.
It was my understanding that our budget, our operating budget, that these were taken out of.
No.
It was my understanding that we were doing only level services.
We said that the things that we took out to get to the 9% increase in the assessment were the exact positions we told they were going to be, but we never once said we were taking the 40,000 out. We felt they were instructional supplies. They're needed absolutely to be able to provide level services as we move to testing that has to be done on one-to-one devices. Amy Fleck at the high school is moving to MCAS It's going to be computer-based at the high school, and she absolutely needs it as an instructional supply so that students know how to take a test on a device.
I know we got up on town hall floor, and we stated that we were asking for exact level services.
We did not
And that
say
was-
exact level services.
well,
We've been very
we're
clear.
providing the same services that we did the prior year.
Absolutely.
With the exception of one teacher that we were eliminating from Conley. That, I believe, is exactly what we were.
And we said we
was
were
the
cutting the
understanding.
things that we added in the budget. We have never cut the 40,000. Every bit of information we gave people never said that we were doing that. We can't afford to.
That wasn't my interpretation
Well,
at all. I don't
that's,
think anyone ever had said that. I don't know if maybe I missed something.
We never once said we were eliminating that. I have people here who have been part of the administrative team and leadership team. I don't think educationally we can afford to do that. We would be selling our students way short.
Anyone else? We're not looking for a vote, this is just a report.
Nope, the second,
he's got
second half,
more.
yes.
There's more.
Oh, I'm
This-
sorry.
This was just, kind of just
This
want to
was
give an
just part
overview
one.
of where we
Okay,
are,
go
where
ahead,
we're going.
continue on.
And then the second page is the, to put forward that 40,000, that first part of the lease, which is the 4-year lease for the 600 devices that would be leasing over the 4 years. It's a lease with a dollar buyout, and we'd own them at the end of the 4 years. So that second page is a lease agreement for the 4 years for a total of $38,575.28 per year for 4 years. And the reason we need the vote is because if the district goes into a lease or financing agreement of more than 3 years, we need the school committee to vote. So this is the agreement, this is the lease agreement right here, and was put together through the state of Massachusetts blanket contract for leasing, so it's under the Chapter 30B approved vendors.
Chad, the grid on the first page reflects the lease, correct?
Yes, yep, the
40,
one.
40, 40, 40,
Exactly, yeah, that's what we.
for the 4 years.
Exactly, yep, so it's CB01, Chromebook 01 is the first year of hopefully continued purchase of Chromebooks to fully get to this one-to-one initiative. So it would go from July 1 through the 21-22 school year. And at the end of that, we do own them. We did look at trying to get cheaper rates in order to, if you do a residual, like if you lease a car and you just lease it for the 3 years and you give it back or you buy it, we looked at that to see if we can get it cheaper, but there's very little residual value of the Chromebooks after the 4 years, so they said it's either one. You could give them back to us, or you could keep them for $1, and it's the same thing. So we decided to keep them, and there's a lot of programs out there that companies will buy back technology, old technology they're looking to get rid of or no longer use. You can get, pennies on the dollar or something to go towards a new purchase, so we'll probably end up doing something like that. Any other questions I can answer on this, or?
Chris?
On page 1, you have the current listing of Chromebooks. Is the current McQuan inventory listed in Indian Head? Is that how you have it?
Yeah, yes, thank you. I moved around where they're going, so Indian Head and Hanson Middle.
Okay.
Hanson Middle has the 5th grade, there's one set of Chromebooks for the 5th grade, those are moved in, so that's where those numbers are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Fred?
Just looking at our handout at the town meeting, it specifically just says level services budget.
So that's what we sold them on.
But level services,
Services does not include this. That's what we're getting mad at.
well,
We went and sold to the towns.
that is not.
That's what we sold to the town.
Okay, we
So that's
sold,
why we went up there. We told them we were taking this out.
What we told them we were taking out were the 2 special ed liaisons at the Whitman Middle School. We were taking out no-cost, full-day kindergarten. We never once mentioned that we were going to take out the supplies for students. Because in my thinking, these are students that are, these are supplies that our students
This
need.
isn't level funded, though.
Excuse
That's the
me.
thing.
We didn't say level funded.
Level services.
Services, because here's what's happening in terms of supplies. What used to have been a textbook that we would have put into a budget can't be a textbook anymore. When we purchased the middle school math and science program, that program is absolutely dependent on the use of Chromebooks for supplies. You cannot run the middle school program in math and science that you all approved 2 years ago without Chromebooks. So it's an inherent supply to the program. The same thing is true with the No Atom program. You can't run the No Atom program without supplies. So the services are the educational instructional services. So it would have been less than level services to pull those things out. We would have been falling behind. Our students are being, almost all of the Chromebooks that Chad has put here, the 1,760, have not even been purchased with the operational budget. They are fundraisers from kids are doing fun runs, spaghetti suppers, it goes on and on and on. We have not even had a commitment to replacing technology for years. These are instructional supplies that are absolutely needed for level services. There was no intent, the leadership team, the administrative team, or anyone to say that those had been cut. We were extremely clear to say to get to the 9% increase, we had to get rid of the 2 liaison positions and the other piece that was there as well. If you move on back through there, keep going.
Through this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep going. I think you get way to the end. Go all the way to the end, Fred. There you go.
Yeah.
If you, that's the piece where we'll talk about, I think.
This proposed budget funds a level services budget which provides students with similar services in the upcoming school year.
Yep. And then it talks about what we, but it's similar services because we.
It does not add new programs or positions. However, it does adjust for declining enrollment in the closing of McQuon Elementary School.
These are instructional supplies that are absolutely essential for our students to be
I know there
able
was
to
even
access
conversation about the
education.
40,000 perhaps being a capital expense as well. I know we had.
Well, because of the lifespan, we couldn't do it. But there was no intent to cut instructional supplies. We knew we could not have those positions and make the 9%. But our kids need this if they're going to be able to access education for the 21st century. There was no intent to try and
I'm not
do what we
I'm not
needed to do.
debating a need. I'm debating upon
Presentation.
presentation and what we were
Well, we were
told and what we
extremely clear in
passed out.
everything we said. Never once did we say we were going to be taking that out. At least, I never decided.
It's an essential piece. If I can bring us back to, and I volunteered in the school for years, before technology in 2000, I was working with teachers that we were fundraising and buying our own Macs and so forth. And I remember at the Holt School, we had in the, what was that little theater auditorium, part of it was the library, and there was a line of Apple IIes, or they could have even been newer than that, or maybe even older. But we were advancing ourselves at that time because you knew the nurturing of the students and their minds and developing them was going that way. And we were doing it before we could get to a technology piece. And then we had a technology piece. How does this relate? I can totally understand an electronic device taking the place of a book, a textbook, or a number of textbooks. I currently am spending a lot of time with a first cousin of mine and her 2 daughters, 17 and 13. Without mentioning their dad in his absence, I really feel I mentioned to you last year, boy, I'd really like to adopt some kids. Well, I think I've adopted a couple cousins because I'd do anything for them. We were at an awards night last night, but why I'm stepping into this is because I see what 13-year-old Hannah brings home for a Chromebook, and I see what 17-year-old Jocelyn has in her bag. I mean, this, in my eyes, it's essential. And I wouldn't even put it past anyone what was or anything. Now, when she gets home, is she really happy? No, because she comes over Cousin Steve's house and sees him with his Xfinity Blast, and now it's a whole different world, but never mind that. But it's not something that was purchased as a Cadillac, it was purchased as an essential item. And I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. I have of 2018, 2019 budget proposals, and hopefully this will put this to rest. Strategic plan and priorities. Describe below are top priorities that have been included in the FY 2018, 2019 budget. Elementary science instructional supplies, it talks about the Gelfland family and foundation and their financial resources at $426,519 to support the implementation of No Adam. Excuse me. Then it goes on to say Chromebooks to implement year one of the multi-year technology implementation plan. Chromebooks purchased for the 2018-2019 school year will be used to implement the science and mathematics curriculum in the middle schools. Students in grade 5, 8, and in high school take next generation MCAS tests in science annually. These assessments are aligned with the 2016 and technology engineering framework. Students in grades 3 through 8 and in grades 10 take MCAS tests in mathematics annually. These assessments are aligned with the 2017 mathematics curriculum framework, pillar number 2, pillar number 3. Chromebook purchase for the 2018-2019 school year will be used for instructional purposes in grade 9 English language arts to ensure that students are proficient in writing and responding to prompts in an electronic format. Students in grade 3 through 8 and 10 in grade 10 take MCAS tests in English language arts annually. These assessments are aligned with the 2017 English language arts curriculum framework. You have the budget, it's in the budget book?
And it goes.
Ally, just so, I think we had a little confusion.
That was in the original budget proposal before cuts were made.
Right.
Yeah, and I know it was in the original budget proposal. It was my understanding, and perhaps I understood wrong, but I think Dan understood the same way, that had been something that had been cut.
Those didn't need to be cut to get to the 9%. And when we met as an administrative team, I think we all felt very strongly that we could not move forward with instruction without being able to do that. Because things have changed so dramatically, the other option with math and science at middle school would have been buying the textbooks, which I don't believe is a good use of taxpayers' money because they go out of date so quickly. And the other concern is we are moving forward to a high-stakes test at the high school that's going to be entirely electronic-based, and our students need to be prepared for it. So I believe as a leadership team and administrative team, we felt that this was absolutely essential to the budget. The other pieces were extremely important as well, but we were able to get to the 9%. Clearly, if we'd had to go below the 9%, everything would have been on the table. But our understanding as a team was this is, you know, what you call level funded, level services, whatever it is, educationally sound and absolutely what Whitman-Hanson students need to be able to compete with other students in other school districts who have many more Chromebooks, and most of them haven't been purchased through spaghetti suppers. So this really needed to be in the operational budget. That was the thinking. No intent to try and fool somebody or say we're not doing what we're doing. I think we're very transparent, and you know, maybe we need to be more so in the future, but clearly our students need this if they're going to be able to reach the standards we want them to be able to. So apologize for any confusion.
I appreciate the need, and I'm not questioning the need. I'm just questioning the message that I felt we were given and the message that we ended up giving.
I was extremely clear as to what we needed to cut to get to 9%.
9.5.
And I want to thank Chad for coming up with a very creative way to do this. I mean, I would love to be able to have the resources here to just be able to put all the carts in all the rooms and be done. Because that's what we need to do, but we can't afford to do that, so we have to have creative solutions. And I appreciate the work he's done on this.
Okay, so I entertain a motion to accept the 4-year lease as proposed.
So moved.
Second.
Chad, that's what you're looking for?
Correct.
The 4-year lease as proposed in your handout?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Does everyone understand what the lease means? Now would be the time to ask before we vote.
What's the year up to,
Questions, any?
2120?
Goes 18 through 22.
18 through 22.
Does everybody understand that? It's 2018 through 2022? For a total cost of $140,760. Everyone understand? Questions? Jeff, do you have something? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, there were some questions about why we're doing a superintendent's evaluation. Required by DESI to do a superintendent's evaluation, no matter if the superintendent is retiring or not. Every year one has to be cast in. I had that question asked me, so I confirmed that that was what needed to be done, and that's why we did it. We didn't do it. Take that time. It's something that's required. I have the evaluation in front of me. Step on. Assesses progress towards goal. 4 different criterias that could be voted on, and we rounded them up. We actually rounded them up and say, the next one was some progress, this one was some significant progress, the next one was met, and the next one was without nothing until met, which exceeded for. Next progress towards student learning goal. Same thing, 3 met, 4 exceeded. District improvement goal, we had 1 significant progress, 3 met, excuse me, and 3 exceeded. Going down to step 2, performance on standards. The standards are unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, or exemplary. The first one's instructional leadership, 3 proficient, 4 exemplary. The second standard is management and operations, 3 proficient, 4 exemplary. The third one is family and community engagement, 1 need improvement, 3 proficient, 4 exemplary. The fourth standard was professional culture, 4 proficient, 3 exemplary. Next was overall summer performance, the satisfaction, need improvement, proficient, or exemplary. 3 proficient, 4 exemplary. Is the overall report. So I went up to Dr. Gilbert Whitman to perform verbal and for this evaluation period, in particular, various curriculum-related achievements of improvement. She had met expectations relating to the transition to the closing of school as it pertains to Smart Goal 4. She has served as a lead throughout negotiations, reworking the regional agreement budget process. Dr. Gilbert also will continue to maintain that level of services. Excuse me. This year's budget process. Superintendent is on their how to put students first and to improve regional schools. She will miss, and I wish her the best transition. For you, qualify the position of superintendent, what is to be truly accomplished and superintendent, professionals, and possess constantly in the district, not be on the strive to do the best. Students, parents, leaders, citizens, Ruth keeps all of them moving and starting on wholeheartedly thankful for everything. They continue to do an outstanding job. The most budget is run very well. Education and administration worked very hard in the regional school district and he is superintendent, and I wish her well in retirement. So she's done. I would also remind everyone. This is good. The superintendent's last school meeting. So I'd like to thank her for wonderful service to the communities of Whitman-Hanson for all the things. Thousands of students, I might say, passed through the building graduation, although everybody's in real trouble. But you work in a district with 100 people every day, something done. Any long-winded speeches, I'll do just what Michelle. Just thank Michelle for teaching me that.
Yeah.
All
right. Thank you. I would like to thank you all for this. This is, I'm not saying I don't have to do my evaluation in public anymore. One of the more challenging things that happened over the evolution of the position. But you know, we have a large, but I think you all worked well together. We really do try to work with investors. So it's been a pleasure working with you. This has been, I think, a very unusually difficult school year. I've had a 3-week person. We've had that have gone on as well, but I think a tremendous amount of closing local school that's going to happen. I'm going to take these. Really that I'm here tonight. And very excited day of collective art. Probably some of the shortest time I've been able to do. That doesn't get done alone. That gets done with leadership. So thank you for the support. It's an familiar to do. But I still love what I do, and I wanted to.
I'm sure.
I thank Ruth for superintendent fees. Superintendent's job. I think more if it's already there to do that. I think assuming it's a special person to do that job. Is different. I know with the closing of the quantum process is always a problem. Hopefully we can change. As but being a superintendent shows stress or stress. Graduation year attended, and I'm sure it's going to be over.
Steve, line items.
report. The first column shows the estimated revenue. The actual revenue coming. The Medicaid, we do on payment in June. Going to exceed the 30 until get it. We have one more. The charter school, its assessment is also we have transportation, one pay in the June. The home we raised 2 years ago, so a little more than what we paid. This in budget is $30,000, brought in over $700, and it's the last ones the ED that we have budgeted.
Anyone?
The next is the transport, appropriation, the transmit, and that would be revised. But he ended that money that has gone to the door versus and our payroll. And then is the condition which shows is in received good or service. Frozen. I've been February. The substitute been several so they're paid substitute is my consideration budget. Roughly right now, this is over 7,000, which anticipates going to be a couple more bills from the so we will be using this year unexpected costs. So we receive about 500 another minute. Okay. Year balance budget money in last year, and this year's money is in which use said the 2009 since the education is to use the
If you line transfer, if no change to the budget, has, if you look at it, Russian, there is no budget.
August thank you.
Go ahead.
We have in addition to and this afternoon I received that he material that he to do.
Yeah.
Do you want separate?
Separate.
I just went.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
give
Give it. Otherwise, next.
Oh, he'll pay.
Okay. Okay, Quan's closing, school closing and transition. Heard what was going earlier, I'm happy to day drop off fire, fire inspection here in the building. In current also here showing on in the district house coming up here for the different renovations. They seem pleased with what's on. Everything is on schedule, and I believe that the rest of from Mr. Small when he gives his report.
Do mention one thing. There is a meeting that Mr. Dan and Dr. Wilcox are going to do for parents. We said to them another parent meeting at the end of the school year and that's scheduled meeting. So we talk about that at facilities, but that is coming up. And just allay anyone's concerns. We did have some Jeff Simonak there and teachers a couple of together their concerns as well. So, move on.
Okay, moving on to new board with the parking fees. To the
superintendent or
one of it's to be Mr. Simonak, Mr. Fall, and see.
Make a
Second.
Oh, that takes care of it. Should decision. All in favor? Let's wait.
Do them.
Okay. Next, need to the Medicaid guys out in medicine to students.
No, I was we changed we really need particularly minor maybe to get this and they had wanted to make it to what you all do, administering students that they get other people to give medication and they can't put it's the what's different that trips
unique of registration like else is permitted students when district leader health use of
they're all
so
we felt
motion. All in favor?
change. Conferences in this program. Really today there was after consideration working what conference there was to do that for different conferences meant schools because of been moving forward. So I think you got to open and confirm in terms of all the changes, so that date may change to collect.
And then discussed by the students.
Move.
Fred?
Just want to, the first school would be Australian. People have been asking. So.
Any discussion? Favor? Thank you. Okay, acceptance of gifts. Pretty easy. Thank you much for taking me. Then 2008. As we discussed, I was very fortunate to have the ball away. And the sun let down to the ball. The pass line for the 71 is for the viewing. Parents would be able to admit the appropriate package for display kiosk for example one, and the process would be for only assisted feedback to be able to have direct our imaging submissions. As part of the project, I would happily all the for the screen and acting of the key as attending elementary school. I will miss regards to attend.
To clarify the the opportunity to get
super clear.
I guess most is contingent upon the with the legal having editorial judges and to whoever.
Yes. So, okay. We do
Back of the field trip. Trip. I about field trips on business. I think so make what together. See not that trip.
I think what and the students are in there, didn't just have to be the understanding, as we in that school year, to and in my mind, it's been a go there. And maybe and I just read that.
I think yeah, with this someone go, someone did go, and that fourth one.
Whitman.
Wrong. Talk about
wanted to look at
And this combined school structure. So it's the first goes, the first of minutes, they're all
yeah.
right. Kids at once. So, you know, MMA constantly find do it, but over 3 different because and the nurse, which what did the this having nurse
To add that more, so when used to be, so I think the opportunity to do that is going to be, when I was in school, you really like sports stuff, get it's amazing. So you can kind of
like that to Chris, the class shrunk because I would come up in a league that go is be totally on the more money.
Thank you.
So some as so we can be on with that.
We knew that.
do your circle.
This one. Principal I having a bunch of different time split that up 2000. There's a big list of issues. No class sets. Teachers have request Mark Sands, director. The tissue. Discussion. Continue money 4th, 2000.
Second.
Discussion. Regional men from Mars. The men from conference call, all the attorneys were involved, and it would come up that now needs to and move the town meeting. And set, yeah. So I think I got up, so facilities and
early this evening, attorney's report, showing there, going to teachers, pending us to bill, and to give them few things pretty to them. The program, the group of citizens, they go through the speak to just the final raise, and then one and back. We just line things of them that be done. But 10 one contract.
Effective in the next days, revamp the playground and hopefully being a so.
With DPW to start on the road here. Transition having completed, still is needs work around here preschool that will they've been schedule much list out and having off on the year, so to in these bill over the weekend will involve the special the discussion is that go tomorrow to the case. Let's all the and we to complete that project next summer. Anything?
Any questions?
But is to this is one of the things at or on the 80% reimbursement school couldn't focus fruition. Regional school they in the there is a national hearing result in a 1% transfer of just 5% reimbursement. So get hope on the horizon that would wire on but 75% reimbursement is right as status. So did a 90-minute Cutler today. I told everybody to and the members do a code about the policies. I'm sure I'll be meeting with members of the conference committee tomorrow, and he said that he putting in a plug for us and asking that they can go for the appreciated.
Thank you. Pilgrim Representative report.
Tony, please, last meeting, school year, it is where I've been the North River Collaborative representative. I've been the liaison, and there's a meeting in March, and there's another one scheduled for 21st or 4th. And hopefully, if this continues, those twice a year, I will continue, and the other superintendent need to Mr. Semick for the Northwest Collaborative as of July 1st. Yep.
Just before.
And that's it.
Any questions from Ms. Boyce? I may have to meet in June, or in the next week. There's a couple of things that may have to come before the committee. I just want to that. I will be notifying Michelle to put it on the agenda, and I will notify everyone. If not, our next meeting is in August. This could happen. Fred?
And that's what I apologize to the committee. Can't even read the calendar and go over the first line. The property for sale that is behind us that we discussed. We discussed that facilities, and we do feel that it has merit to the full committee and to discuss further in executive session different strategies.
So, entertain motion adjourned.
Move second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.